think about it, you really can't make a bad choice. Monday was the deadline for underclassmen to declare for the draft. Murray did just that. A procedural move or something more? If it's the latter, here's our Mel Kiper Jr. on where he thinks the Heisman Trophy winner might be drafted.
You look at Kyler Murray and where he'll project in the NFL draft. I think solid first round, maybe even early to mid first round. You have 4 teams picking. Giants at 6, Jaguars at 7, Miami at 13, Redskins at 15, all looking quarterback. And Kyler Murray, I tell you what, we've never had it before. We've never had a 5'9" quarterback expected to be franchised, go this early in the draft. Most fascinating, most intriguing player, I think, in the history of the NFL draft at the quarterback position.
That says something, huh? Here are the key
And that is Mel Kiper talking about Kyler Murray, who is officially declared for the NFL draft. A lot of stuff going on in that story. We'll get into that in a second.
They forgot about the Lions at number 9.
Stop it.
Joe.
Stop.
Come on.
It's not happening.
All right.
Don't they have the 8th pick, too?
We'll talk about
Stafford
it
is
in a
the
minute.
money man. They can't
Anyways,
give up on him.
welcome to the
8th,
show.
I don't remember.
It's Views from the Sideline. It's January 15th, 2019. Chris Pappas, Joey Tysick, Malik Hill. What's going on, guys?
This month is going by fast, man. It's just going by so
That's
fast.
good, though. We're getting closer to March Madness. I'm excited for that.
We are. And this NFL draft, this just became maybe the most interesting in a while. This quarterback class just went from okay to one of the most interesting in years.
I want to start the show right away. I want to ask you first, Malik. What do you make of this whole scenario with Kyler Murray? There's rumors going on about how he wants $15 million per year from the A's to stay with baseball. And the A's were reluctant to give any sense of that. So now he declares for football, or declares for the NFL draft, and all signs point to him maybe giving the NFL a real shot here. What do you make of this whole situation?
First of all, this is one of the most intriguing storylines in sports, maybe in the past few years, because we haven't seen an athlete of this caliber in I don't know how long. I mean, people like to make the Bo Jackson comparisons because of the football and baseball, but we know Bo is one of the greatest athletes to ever play, so you can't do all that. But the fact that he can go over to the baseball side and say, I want this amount of money, or I'm going to go over to the NFL, declare for the NFL, and I'm pretty sure the MLB is trying to figure out something right now to get him pulled back over to baseball. I mean, I haven't seen an athlete with this type of leverage as an athlete, and I don't think I've seen it in my lifetime, so I can't wait to see what happens. If he's a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, which he has all the talent to, even being my height at 5'8", he has all the arm talent in the world. So I can't wait to see what happens.
Joe, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I felt like he should have went with baseball, but obviously there has to be the love of the game has got to be more with football, I'm assuming, is why he chose it. And, if there's a lot of questions about how his game is going to translate into the NFL. So the nice thing is he can always fall back to baseball. And yeah, he might not get the same money that he originally is trying to bargain for, but he'll get a chance in the MLB. And if he does anything in the MLB, his next contract will be huge. And that's just how it works in baseball. And you can get a lot of money real quick. But if he's really going for football, it'll be really exciting. And it makes the draft a lot more interesting because, this quarterback draft class isn't the greatest. It's basically Dwayne Haskins and Kyler Murray are the best 2 quarterbacks in this draft.
Don't sleep on Daniel Jones from Duke.
Oh, we're sleeping.
Don't sleep on him.
Anyways.
Chris, you've made some crazy predictions.
Hey, man.
Don't sleep
All I
on
know
Daniel
is
Jones.
I said Donovan Mitchell was going to be a star, and you know what? He's a star. But anyways, I want to put you guys in Kyler Murray's shoes here for a second, and then also give me what you actually think is going to happen. Joe, if you're Kyler Murray, you're in this situation where you can choose the safer sport, potentially more guaranteed money to play baseball, but it's a sport you are not full-heartedly into, or do you choose the sport you grew up playing, the sport you love in football, but there is that concern of career-ending injuries, not as much money to be had, and maybe not making it? What do you choose if you're Kyler Murray?
Man, that is exactly what you lose sleep over, and I'm sure he's lost a lot of sleep over it, trying to figure it out. Because on one end, you want to just do what you love, and that's what you're always told. You want to grow up and be able to do what you love as your career. But on the other end, there's like a security blanket to baseball where he could, as long as he makes a team and gets a contract, he can be secure for the rest of his life. And a baseball career is a lot longer than a football career. And granted, things can happen in baseball too, where you can get injured and you could have a season ending or career ending even in baseball, but it's a more likely scenario in football. But like I said earlier, I think it's nice to be able to maybe have baseball as a fallback. So if the football thing doesn't work out, barring any injuries, of course, he can kind of do a little bit of both. He can do what he loves. He can see if football is going to work, because I think it's going to take him a little time to get acclimated to the NFL. And, you know, if it doesn't really work out, he can still try baseball. Plenty of teams are going to give him opportunities. And just the skill set that he has translates so well between both sports. I think he can take the chance and go for football. But it's a hard decision. I don't know necessarily what I would do, because I'd have to think of, like, basketball being my love for a sport compared to going to baseball, but it doesn't match up. Like, football and baseball are the highest contrast in sports for as far as like contracts go and guaranteed money. Football is one of the worst as far as that goes, and baseball is one of the best. And so that makes it the decision a lot harder.
And it doesn't make sense too. You bring up football doesn't have as much guaranteed money, while baseball has a lot of guaranteed money. That should be flipped, in my opinion. I mean, you have just such a high rate of career-ending injuries in football, and injuries that just ruin players throughout their career and affect their lives after the sport. Why don't they have more guaranteed money opposed to a safer sport in baseball? I know it all comes down to collective bargaining and players' associations and all that.
Well, and
but
part of it is just longevity. Like in baseball, you can have a career that lasts seemingly forever, especially if you're a pitcher, which Kyler Murray's not. He's a middle infielder, but there's plenty of middle infielders that have had very long careers. Whereas in football, it's like most of the time you have a shortened career. Granted, he is a quarterback, so you're going to get a little bit more guaranteed money than a lot of other players would, and you're also going to get typically a longer career if you can make it. But overall, baseball just has that longer time period. So teams are willing to give longer contracts and bigger money in baseball, knowing that it's not very likely that they're going to get hurt or that they're even going to decline in their play. Whereas in football, you have these shorter contracts because they know that every year guys are just worn down through injuries and all this play. And then the coming year, they're going to get a new guy come in, fresh young blood, and he's going to look for that starting spot, and it just makes it hard on teams, I think.
And Malik, I'm going to hit you with the same question. If you're Kyler Murray, you put yourself in his situation, you put yourself in his shoes, what decision do you make? Do you choose the love of the sport, or do you choose the safer, more probably the safer pick?
If I'm Kyler, it's an easy choice. Honestly, you choose football.
You think?
Because
you think it's an easy choice?
From the football player's point of view, there have been a long list of NFL players, college football players that have come out and said, if I could do anything different, I would not. I'm going to take the risks. I'm playing football. They love the sport too much. It's what they love. It's all they want to do. It's when you have that passion, especially for football, players, they take the injuries. They'll take everything that comes because that is what they do. It's who they are.
To play devil's advocate here, Deion Sanders was on, I think it was SportsCenter, and he was saying, they asked him to give advice to Kyler in this situation. He said, go play baseball.
Well, Deion Sanders is known as one of a player in NFL history that cares a lot more about money than many other players. Deion is all about the money.
But
when he got drafted, he had gold chains on, he had Ferraris, and Deion has always been about the money.
Do we know about Kyler Murray that much that we know he's not about the money? I'm not sure we know about Kyler, or we have that much information or that much insight into him just yet. He could be just like Deion and just want the money.
There's no Deion.
Or Deion, not just like
Deion, but one Deion.
But lean into that direction.
And there aren't many players that we know that don't show their passion. We know Deion Sanders, he loved football. He played baseball just because he could. He played professional baseball just because he could. He didn't play it because it was his passion. He played football primarily because it was his passion. He just happened to be a player that Deion Sanders never went for contact primarily. He was so athletically gifted that he went for picks. He played the receiver. He played the ball because he was he was the greatest player to ever be able to do something like that. Deion Sanders was never really risking injury. So for him to say something like that, I think he's in a different category.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
You do get a lot of players though that, you know, are coming out of retirement and are going into retirement, and they're saying, you know, if they had the choice and they knew about all this CTE stuff, they would have never played football.
Oh yeah, there are more players. There have been guys that have retired in the past few years coming into the NFL. They've just decided to quit immediately because of CTE. But I really think that's still a short list of players that really consider the effects and all that comes with it. Most guys, when they get drafted, they're going out there, they're going to training camp, they're hitting as hard as they can, and they're trying to play as long as they can. There will always be that short list of guys that take into account everything that will come, but for the most part, those dudes, they just want to play football and live out their dream.
So now you can take yourself out of Kyler Murray's shoes, but what do you think he's picking? Do you think he's going to stick with baseball or stick with football?
Oh, I think he's going to stick with football. I think just declaring for the draft, I think, has made it evident. Maybe the only way that he goes to baseball at this point is if he kind of gets snubbed in the draft and he falls, which I think is entirely possible. I don't think it will happen.
He could still go to baseball, too, if he gives the NFL a couple years, nothing's really panning out.
Right.
All right, I'm going to go try baseball.
But I think it's more likely that he'll go to baseball immediately if by chance he like falls to the second round or something. Something crazy happens maybe, but I think he's all in on the football thing.
And Malik, you're the same way, right?
Yep.
You think he's all in? Gotcha. See, I don't know. It's really interesting. I think it's really close with football because he declared, and that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really know until everything is said and done.
I think once everybody sees him at the combine, and I assume he's going to do a pro day, once he blows everybody away with his throwing talent and shows that he is a top 10 pick, I don't think there'll be a question anymore.
I don't think that's the question though. I think the question is how his game is going to translate into the NFL because he's an undersized quarterback, which there's been quarterbacks that have excelled in the NFL. Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, those guys are undersized. But just something about it, people are questioning. I think he can make it, but I think it's going to take some time adjusting. I don't think there's any question of his talent or his skill set. I think everybody can see that, and that if he works out in the NFL, he is going to be great. But I think there's just a few questions of how it's necessarily going to translate.
Of course, there'll always be questions, but people are going to start drooling when they see him drop back and throw a 70-yard post route to a receiver right on the dot.
Well, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, you said it, Malik. The month's going by fast. Draft's coming up. Draft's in April. 3 months away. We'll see what happens. A lot of stuff to be done between here and now. Let's transition to NFL playoffs. The divisional round. The Chiefs upset the Colts. They're not really upset, but it was a blowout. Probably didn't expect a blowout. 31-13. What'd you guys see from that one? I honestly thought that was going to be a close game. I thought that was going to be one of the better games from this past weekend.
I think it proved something for Kansas City to show that they're not ready to choke in this playoff.
See, that's what I expected them to choke.
See, and that's what I think they proved is that, you know, they're the real deal, I think, in this game. Because the Colts were rolling pretty well, and Kansas City had a lot of question marks, but they looked really good in this game. Granted, they're going to have an even tougher game this week, but I think they're the real deal, and they can definitely make a run.
Malik?
I think there's a difference between having a quarterback that is steady and doesn't turn the ball over much and get you where you want to go. But there's a difference between that and a quarterback that will light up a team, completely shut them out and not give them any chance to win, and just rises your level of confidence in a team and a fan base. That's the difference between Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith. Alex Smith was steady, didn't turn the ball over much, got you to the playoffs, but he didn't have the skill set, the tool set to get them over the top when they needed it. He's shown that the past few years. The Colts came back from a 20-something point deficit a few years ago and upset the Chiefs because Alex Smith couldn't close the door. The fan base feels different. This team feels different. The Chiefs believe in what Pat Mahomes can do on any play. he's going to drop back and throw a pass that's going to blow people away, and he's going to make a play that sets apart that team. And with this level of confidence, I think the Chiefs, I predicted them to make it to the Super Bowl. And
You did.
yeah, as long as they keep this up, I don't see a team stopping them.
And people forget
they're
they
on a roll.
lost their star running back.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I
And
know.
they're still playing really
But
well.
guess what? When you lose your running back and you look up and say, but we have Patrick Mahomes, there's no drop off.
But Kareem Hunt was a big deal to that offense. Granted, they have great backups that have gotten a lot of time in the past. But when you lose a guy like Kareem Hunt that was having such a good season, that's a tough blow. And they just, they went right past it, and they're still rolling. But yeah, obviously Patrick Mahomes has been incredible this season.
And then we had the Patriots over the Chargers 41-28. They put up 41 points. Their defense was okay. It was good enough to get them past. You guys were kind of doubting the Patriots going into this one. Did they kind of surprise you guys a little bit?
I was not doubting the Patriots. I just picked the Chargers to go to the Super Bowl.
I was doubting the Patriots defense completely because
You were, yeah.
I've never seen a Patriots team like this where the defense and offense, the offense is good, but at times looks spotty, and the defense doesn't look good at all. But your division is so weak that you still can get 11 wins.
That's true. That's
Never seen a Patriots team like this. Bill Belichick shows why he's a top 3 coach
and why you
ever
can't doubt
in
the
the
Patriots
NFL.
in the playoffs.
He's here. Anthony Lynn is still figuring things out. I mean, it was just a complete overmatch.
Yeah, and you know what? The Chargers had a really good season. 12-4. Phillip Rivers looked really good. I think it kind of got the fan base going again for the Chargers because there was a sense that they were kind of dropping off. But we'll see what happens next year. Moving on, Saints and Eagles. Nick Foles didn't have enough to get past the Saints, kind of choked there at the end. That was an exciting game. Eagles almost pulled off another miraculous comeback. What did you guys see from that one?
I think it's time for people to jump off of this Nick Foles express that everybody is full tilt on Nick Foles becoming.
Wait a minute.
Hold the phone. Joe, go.
Listen, let me finish.
Right.
Nick Foles is a quarterback that can put together a great string of games, isn't he? He can put together an amazing string, 7 games. He will look like the best quarterback in the league for that 6 or 7. Extend that to 16. Nick Foles has never proven that he can year in, year out be the guy for a team. You give him a team that believes in him for a good amount of games, he can show off. But he's not a franchise quarterback.
Joseph?
He's not.
So
He's never been a franchise quarterback.
you're saying that Carson Wentz needs to get hurt at week 16. That's what we're saying?
When
He
Nick
just needed
Foles
to- he just needed to hold out a little bit longer, and they would have been good.
I'm saying when Nick Foles has a good string of games, when the quarterback goes down and Nick Foles is there, you shouldn't be afraid. Because Nick Foles, he's a smart guy. He's a deep ball connoisseur. He drops it where you want it, and he looks great in that amount of games.
I just feel like he has better synergy than Carson Wentz has shown with the wide receivers that the Eagles have, especially Alshon Jeffrey. He looks like a totally different wide receiver. He looks like the Chicago Bears Alshon Jeffrey when Nick Foles is in the game.
And
I
to
just-
be fair to Malik, we can't blame this loss on Nick Foles.
I'm not blaming it on
Because
Nick
if
Foles.
Alshon doesn't have that ball go through his hands, we're looking at something different. And that could be a win for the Eagles. And Foles could be back in the back playing on Championship Sunday.
I'm not blaming this on Nick Foles.
I'm just saying, don't doubt him when it wasn't his fault for the loss.
Right, he could have still been rolling.
Alshon makes that catch, man.
Nick
Anything
Foles
can
is
happen.
going to make a lot of money next year, and I'm happy for him. He's going to be a starting quarterback for our team next year. He's going to make a ton of money. That's because people believe he's the guy all of a sudden. That's all I'm saying. People believe he's going to be the guy for the rest of his
because
career.
he's producing in big time games.
Well, for the teams that
How many games, Chris? How many games does he usually play in a row?
How many rings does Foles have?
He has a ring.
He has
Yeah.
a ring. That's a big time plus. For
There
him.
have been backup
and
quarterbacks.
he was the quarterback.
Ever heard of Jeff Hostetler?
Okay, Malik.
Ever heard of Jeff Hostetler?
Yes, Malik. I have.
Ever heard of Trent Dilfer?
Okay.
He was a backup, led a team to the Super Bowl. That happened. That
That
happened, Joey.
defense was one of the best defenses of all time.
They were.
So
And the Eagles' defense is as good as that one.
that's,
But guess what?
I feel like it's a
put
little-
up they
little
put up
different.
points. They put up points when they needed to because Trent Dilfer
Yeah.
made plays.
All right.
I
I mean,
guess.
I don't care to defend Nick Foles that much. But I'm just
That's
saying.
all I'm saying.
So the Saints advance to Championship Sunday, but they will play the LA Rams. They beat up on the Cowboys 30-22.
I wouldn't say beat up. Cowboys hung in there.
I don't
hung in
mean
there.
like crazy beat up. I just used that
Yeah.
term. But anyways, so Malik, what did you see from that one? You thought the Cowboys had a nice showing despite losing?
The Rams did beat them up on the ground. C.J. Anderson, I'm so happy for C.J. Anderson.
He had a whirlwind
gets-
of a season.
He gets cut twice. Teams don't want to take a chance on him. He looks like he's never been in shape, which it's even more impressive seeing how elusive he is and how good of a runner he is. Him and Todd Gurley carved up the Cowboys defense.
And that was big
They
time
had-
for CJ. Sorry to cut you off, but it was
Yeah.
big time for CJ
Exactly.
to have a big game because Todd Gurley was he was held back a little bit because, well, I forget the injury that it was, but he wasn't getting as many snaps as usual.
Yeah, this raises the confidence for the entire offense. This shows that when Jared Goff isn't on, you can depend on the running game, especially with like I said, C.J. Anderson emerging like he is, and the Rams defense still played very well. The Cowboys made plays at times, and that's why they hung around. But after that big play to Amari Cooper, the Rams defense started to settle in, and they started getting some pressure. They looked good. It was, if the Cowboys didn't score and get those 22 points, it would have looked like a blowout. But yeah, they hung around and they showed some heart in the fourth quarter. And the Cowboys fan base should be happy with where that franchise is going
especially
right now.
how they started the year and kind of turned it around
Yeah.
halfway through.
Amari Cooper changed that season
He
for
did
that entire
big
team.
time, big time. He had a couple special games down the stretch, and if he can do that next year, I mean, they already have a really solid defense, solid offensive line.
They can be in a 10-11, maybe 12-win team.
Get Dak a solid tight end, an Eric Ebron tight. I'm just joking, but
Joe, you look
it could be something.
disappointed.
But anyways, Joe,
Ebron. No, I'm kidding.
Joe, do you have anything to add to this one or
LA
not really?
looked good. They have
Yeah,
two great running backs now. You know, Charles Barkley was the round mound of rebound. C.J. Anderson, round mound on the ground.
I like that.
Wonderful.
Let's preview our conference championship Sunday. New England Patriots versus the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC
Is it in New England or in Kansas City?
in Kansas City.
Okay.
What you guys got?
Patrick Mahomes is the difference in this game.
Still doubting the Patriots, are we?
I thought
I'm
we
not
learned
doubting
our
the
lesson
Patriots.
last
I'm
week.
not doubting the Patriots. It is Belichick versus Andy Reid. Belichick has gotten the best of him.
Every time.
Yes.
Andy Reid's a regular
he has
season guy.
He has
Listen.
nothing else to say. All right, please
Kansas
tell me you're
City-
picking Kansas City.
Kansas City's offense, there's no reason why they shouldn't rip apart the
Yeah.
the Patriots defense.
Okay.
I'm terrified
But you're picking
of
Kansas
picking this
City.
game. I'm so afraid.
Just say what's in your heart.
Kansas City should win this game.
All right, Malik says
They
Kansas
should win
City.
this game. Pat Mahomes should throw it all over the field and put up numbers.
He should.
He should.
He should. It's not gonna happen. He should.
The problem is, what if this
Listen.
game turns into a shootout?
Or is Pat Mahomes is going to put up numbers.
He should.
But
There's no
the
way.
Patriots could still win.
There's no way the Patriots can stop Tyreek Hill.
The Patriots can't stop Tyreek Hill. They really can't stop
the
Travis
Patriots
Kelce.
can only win this game in a shootout, in my opinion. I agree, but I'm not doubting Brady, and I'm not doubting Belichick.
How much is Julian Edelman going to do in this game? Gronk hasn't looked like himself in a year or two.
It's just one
Gr-
game, though. They only got to win one game.
Gronk literally has to turn into 2014 Gronk for them to win a shootout.
It doesn't matter. The Patriots
He's a
could throw
robot.
us out there at wide receiver, and we'd look good. That's what they do every year.
It's the system, man.
Listen, I don't know.
It's like Greg Popovich
even-
and the Spurs.
Even this year, the Patriots receiving core hasn't looked. They've looked.
He's
I don't
out.
even know
They
their
look
wide
spotty.
receivers outside of Julian Edelman.
Yeah, come on. You don't know Philip Dorsett.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot he's on the team.
Cordero Patterson, who's also played.
Yeah, all
this
these journeymen.
running back.
See, they get all these journeymen, and then just it works out.
This has been the one year he hasn't made receivers look great. His receivers have looked below average all season,
All they
but
gotta
they've
do,
still been winning.
all they gotta do is look great for the next two games. That's it. Anyways, Joe,
I'm picking the Chiefs.
I know you're picking the Chiefs. Joe, you're not down the Patriots, are you?
For all
I'm
that,
not doubting the Patriots. I
all
believe
that-
in Patrick Mahomes.
for all that harping on Malik, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs as well.
Oh my gosh.
I just think they have something going on. Patrick Mahomes is on a mission, and I really just kind of want to see them in the Super Bowl. I mean, granted, I don't really mind whoever makes the Super Bowl in this, because if New England makes it, then I want New Orleans to make it, so you get a Brady Breeze matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City rematch against the Rams would be great. I think New Orleans versus Kansas City would also be great.
You're fine with all these
the
matchups.
old guard versus the new guard. The only matchup that I don't think I like is the Rams and the Patriots.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's not as storylined as the other matchups, I feel like.
I got you. Well, you know what? I think you guys lack something.
Listen, Chris.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I want you
do.
to tell me which receiver is going to have. What's Julian Edelman doing in this
Malik,
game? Is
Malik.
he playing like 2014?
Hey, Malik.
Which receiver is
Out
going
of
to have an
anything, the
insane
Patriots are
game?
not Darth Vader. I'll tell you that much.
Malik, let me just say this.
What
No, no,
player
I'm
for
not
the
even gonna answer-
Patriots
I
is
don't even
going
have
to
answer-
play the greatest game in their entire life?
He's not going to play the
against the
greatest game in
Chiefs?
his entire life.
Because that's
But you
what
know
they're
what?
going to have to do.
You know what,
to win
Malik?
this game.
Malik, they have the GOAT, Tom Brady.
They do.
They have one of the best coaches of all
Yes.
time in Bill Belichick.
Which always gives
They
them a
have
chance.
a repertoire you can fall back on and look at. I am not doubting the Patriots. I'm looking forward to next week when the Pats win by double digits against the Chiefs, and Malik's got to eat his words.
So you're just going Patriots blowout every game, including the Super Bowl?
I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout.
One team,
But I could see them winning by 10 points.
the Patriots, have to be better than 3 other teams. The Patriots beat the Falcons after coming back from a 31-point deficit. The Warriors blew a 3-1 lead in the finals.
Now, let's stop bringing up the Warriors blowing
I
a
like that
3-1 lead,
transition.
man. Give them a
Anyways,
break.
give me the Patriots. I'm not doubting them. Plus, that was still my Super Bowl pick, was Patriots Saints. So moving on to the NFC, Rams and Saints. I'll just start off by saying I'm picking the Saints because my prediction's still on the board. But I think they're the best team in the NFL, personally. Malik?
I have no idea how the Eagles secondary kept letting Michael Thomas go over the middle last game. He ran the same route
Every
in
time.
a slightly different way.
Yep.
8 or 9 different times last game, and they kept letting it happen.
Yeah.
The Rams defense is more talented than the Eagles defense. They're a top 5 defense in the NFL. I don't think Michael Thomas is going to go insane on the Rams defense. Although I trust Drew Brees. The Rams are rolling right now. I'm taking the Rams.
I was going to say, how much do you trust your Breeze? Apparently not very much. Joey, what you got?
Apparently not.
I got the Saints. This is going to be exciting as well. I think the NFC matchups are exciting. They're very similar teams. They both have great quarterbacks, solid wide receivers. They got some different running backs that give you different looks. Kamara and Mark Ingram, and then you got Todd Gurley and CJ Anderson, both with solid defenses. I don't know. I like New Orleans a little bit more. I feel like Drew Brees is always the underdog kind of guy in all the greatest of all time talks, but I would like him to get another Super Bowl. I think it'd be pretty cool. And I don't know. I just don't like the Rams as much. Just a personal preference, but I think the Saints are a better team overall.
You're the old guy. You don't like the young kids showing out.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Drew Brees' last stand,
Either-
narrated by Joey.
Yeah. What if I told you?
Either way, it's going to be an exciting Sunday of football. Both matchups are going to be really entertaining. I can see 2 really good games. I mean, except the Patriots are going to win by double digits. But anyways, let's transition to some college hoops. The Wolverines might be looking at a number 1 spot in the rankings. They are still undefeated at 17-0. They beat Illinois in Illinois by 10 points. That one was a wee bit closer than expected. And then at home against Northwestern, that wasn't even close. Is there anything to talk about this team other than they keep producing?
This last game, Xavier Simpson hit 5 threes. John Teskey hit 3. You can't
When-
depend. You can't depend on that consistently. But the fact that it happened, they showed that it can be done. That's scary.
I don't
Yeah.
want Xavier Simpson shooting 5 threes in a game.
If he gets hot, he can shoot threes.
Maybe if he starts 3 of 3 or something. But
He needs to keep shooting. If he stops shooting, his confidence will go away. He has to keep shooting because nights like that are possible. He just showed. They have so many weapons. The defense hasn't been as tight as it was in the first few games of the season, but they're still playing good defense. They're just doing what needs to be done. Whenever a team goes on a run, they find a way to punch and counter. No matter what player it is on the court, they find a way. And they're so diverse, they're deep, they have talent at every position, and they're just getting it done every game.
Yeah, Joe, do you have anything to add to that? Not really.
no, they just have a big game this weekend against
That's what I was gonna
Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's obviously not as good as people once thought, but
it's still in
a
Wisconsin.
good. It's still a good team. It's still a solid program. You can't ever count them out. So it's a pretty big win if they can get it.
Yeah. I think that could be a little bit of a trap game, just like I thought the Indiana game was going to be a little bit of a trap game.
Indiana's on a 3-game losing streak. They might be losing some juice.
Yeah, they could be, especially here down the stretch.
They're really young. They got to figure things out.
MSU Penn State though. That was a tough game.
I think
It was
Michigan,
a tough game going in. MSU
but
broke it open. But
if
it
you
was a
look
tough
at
game
it
going
though,
in.
like that's exactly how Michigan played against Penn State. You know, the first half was close, and then the second half it wasn't even a game anymore. And I think Michigan State kind of did the same thing. So I really don't think that was.
I thought Penn State was going to be better this year. I really did.
I think Pat Chambers probably needs to go. He's had talent over the years, and he hasn't been able to produce anything. But, yeah, like he said, similar games, Michigan State versus Penn State. That's how it's going to be in the Big Ten. It's a grind. There are going to be several games. For both teams, there are going to be at least 4 or 5, maybe 6 games that you're tested, and you have to show that you can win grinded out games by 1 or 2 points. That happens in deep, tough conferences like this. And you really shouldn't expect anything less in a conference like this.
And we're looking at the schedule here for Michigan and Michigan State. Michigan's schedule still isn't that difficult until it gets to the very end. Michigan State, they have some tough games coming up. At Nebraska, it's not an extremely tough game, but
Nebraska's playing good right now.
Any
it's
road
nothing
game,
you can overlook.
exactly.
Any road game of the Big Ten, you
Then
can't overlook it.
They play number 19 Maryland, and then they go on the road to Iowa too, which is another tough game to play on the road. I could see MSU losing one of these next 3 games.
Them losing at Iowa, I wouldn't be surprised.
And I wouldn't be upset about it either because that's just a tough place to
That's
play.
just how it goes.
But a team that did lose, Duke, they lost to Syracuse last night, 95-91. It was overtime, I believe.
Yep.
Coming off a game where they just barely beat Florida State. At the buzzer, Cam Reddish hit a 3. In the Florida State game, Zion Williamson went out with a poked eye. He didn't return for the second half. He did play against Syracuse. What's the state of Duke basketball right now? Are they going through a little bit of a tough stretch here?
Well, after the Big Ten, I think the ACC is probably the toughest conference in the country. So there are several games where teams can come alive, and especially teams like Syracuse. They're on a 2-3 zone. They're a very, very disciplined defensive team. Jim Boeheim has coached that way his entire career. Trey Jones hurt his shoulder. Cam Reddish was out. They couldn't figure out how to penetrate the zone. If they couldn't get it to Zion in the middle, they couldn't figure out a way to penetrate that zone. So they chucked up. I think they threw up 42, 43 threes and only hit 8 of them.
And RJ Barrett was 9 for 30 from the floor. He shot 30 shots, and that's almost unheard of in college basketball.
Yeah, Syracuse completely threw them out of their offense and out of their comfort zone. So it's a great win for Syracuse. Great win for Jim Boeheim. Duke is going to Virginia this weekend.
That's what I was going to say, yep.
Yeah, this could be a tough.
No, I think it's at home.
It's at home?
Yeah, they play at home against Virginia.
Well, whether it's at Virginia or at home, them playing Virginia right now, Virginia's rolling. They're the only undefeated team in the country besides Michigan. Duke can't take them lightly. Even with the injuries out, I said early in the season, Trey Jones was their most important player. And having him out, he's the guy that
he could be out up until maybe even past some of the tournament games too.
Yeah, he's the guy that made sure everything was in order on the court. Everybody did what they needed to do. So just leaning on Zion and RJ, there's going to be some rough patches in there. There could be some losses in here. Getting Trey Jones and Cam Reddish back healthy should be the most important thing for them in the next few weeks.
And there's an argument to be had that Trey Jones, he might not be the most talented. He's not the best player for Duke, but he might be the most valuable when it comes to keeping this team together and running the ship how it should be run. Joe, what is your take of Duke right now struggling over these last couple games?
I think they've finally been exposed a little bit. One of the big questions for Duke is their three-point shooting. They don't have the greatest shooters out on the court, and in college basketball, it's hard to win these days without good three-point shooting. They're lucky to have the best athlete in, honestly, almost all of basketball. And to also have a talent like RJ Barrett is incredible. So I think they've been not necessarily lucky, but they haven't had to deal with that kind of thing. And Syracuse is such a good defensive team that they can lock in on something and look at a weakness and they can take that away. And now they're going to play Virginia, who is also a very good defensive team. And they'll throw a lot of different looks at you defensively. So if they do the same thing and they can get, Duke off their game and shooting a lot of threes.
This game could be a blowout.
Virginia
don't be surprised if Virginia runs them off the court.
Virginia could take advantage. In past years, we've seen Virginia play good teams really well.
Yeah.
Last year's tournament was an outlier.
Yeah.
People try to say, Virginia's going to just lose to a 16 seed again.
It doesn't happen.
That's not going to happen every year. That was a crazy game, and a lot of things had to happen for that to happen. Virginia is one of the best programs in the country, and you cannot take them lightly at all because they are going to lock in on defense, and that is what they do. And, Duke's got to be a little bit careful here because if they start to tumble, you get all these young, talented guys that sometimes they can lose their cool a little bit. Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see. Like you said, they play at home against Virginia January 19th. I think that'll be a very telling game. They really do need Cam Reddish back as soon as possible. Trey Jones will be later on down the road, if at all. But Duke's got to come up with something. RJ Barrett's got to step up. Stop taking ill-advised shots, which he has over the last couple games, maybe feeling the pressure of losing to Syracuse and almost losing to Florida State. But moving on, let's cross over to Pro Hoops. I know Malik didn't want to talk about him at all, but we're going to talk about him. Pistons go 1-3 on their Western road trip. Only win comes against the Clippers, where Blake
arguably
Griffin,
the best team that they played on the road trip.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, they played the Lakers without LeBron.
Yeah. I agree with that. Blake Griffin, 44 points. Snubbed Steve Ballmer.
That was his game.
Yeah.
That was his one game this season.
That was the one game I wanted to see the Pistons win. Now we're back to losing. Keep tanking. But that's the one game I wanted to see the Pistons win. But, I mean, when it comes to why are the Pistons struggling so much, it comes down to you have a team that is so three-point oriented with players that are not three-point specialists and a defensive-oriented team with guards that can't stay in front of players. Reggie Jackson, I will say it week in and week out, he cannot stay in front of any point guard in the NBA. There early in the year, Cameron Payne, who is no longer on an NBA roster, put up 20 points and 8 assists because he could not, and he made Reggie Jackson look like a cone you do your drills in front of.
It honestly looks like he doesn't put in much effort on defense.
I'm not sure if it's effort or conditioning or he's not 100% back. Either way,
I don't think his head is in it, honestly.
It comes down to this defense, the reason why it falls apart and the reason why they lose games, I think more so than their shooting, is they cannot stop dribble penetration. They put Andre Drummond in a bad situation, and Andre's not the best defender anyways, and he will lack intensity about half the games they play. But it's not helping him if Reggie can't stop any point guard from getting in the paint.
Most of the players they have besides Stanley Johnson.
Stanley can play.
Stanley is the one like good defender on this team. Kyrie Thomas
I agree with Bruce.
has promise. He's just a rookie. He was a good defender in college. He has a lot of promise.
He did well against Donovan Mitchell down the stretch. They
Yeah.
went to him in the second half. He actually finished off the game.
And
Got-
Zaza Pachulia is Zaza Pachulia.
And Zaza's been out for a couple weeks too.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Lure looks lost defensively as well. The fact that he has to play center for this team is a joke.
He looks like he forgot he was an NBA player. Once
He shot
came-
40% from three one
I
year.
think
This
the-
dude
I
hasn't made
think
a
the-
three since Halloween 2017.
I
He
think
has
the
not made a
Monstars
three.
may have taken his talent away
I don't know what's
because
going on with him.
he looks like he's just in a different realm on the court.
He has zero confidence from anything in the perimeter. Another thing I want to bring up too. People picking on Dwayne Casey for not playing Luke Kennard very many minutes, not starting Luke for a team that's not playing very well. I understand. Luke should get minutes. But that dude, he might be the worst off-ball defender on this team, and that says so much
Listen,
about him.
It is weird because there were times last year where Stan Van would put him in and he'd play some pretty good defense. I don't know what happened.
And another thing we haven't talked about
He's also
too,
extremely frustrated with his team right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was just out of the game at certain points and not really.
yeah, just not into it completely. He did have an outburst against the Detroit Pistons assistant coach when they lost to Sacramento. It was visible on the telecast. There wasn't really much information that came out afterwards, but you could tell he was visibly upset with something probably getting pulled for a missed defensive assignment.
Well, and part of it too, he I think he was 1 for 9 from the floor in that game. He was really struggling to shoot the ball. So that in combination with another amount of things could have really made that happen. But
for me, it's really disappointing because I think you can't blame rust on defense. Kyle Korver picked him apart. Korver had about 9 open threes because Luke Kennard was his main cover, and Luke just got lost. He helped on drives when you don't help on drives when Kyle Korver's sitting alone in the corner. You just don't do it. It's just not discipline, and it was disappointing to me. That was maybe he shot the ball well offensively. That's cool. That's what he does. But I can see him not getting minutes. I'd rather give minutes to Bruce Brown and Kyrie Thomas. Kyrie can make shots from the perimeter, and Bruce Brown will give you effort defensively. But that's my little tangent there on Luke Kennard. Hopefully he picks it up. Another thing I want to talk about on the road trip, Kyle Kuzma dropped 41 points, the Flint native, against the Pistons in 3 quarters. I think he played, what was it, like 34 minutes or something like that?
something like that, I think.
Maybe even less. Actually, I think it was like 29 minutes. 41 points. That's ridiculous.
Let the kid go for 50.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't play at all.
Come
in the
on,
fourth.
Luke Walton. What are you doing?
I don't understand that.
What is wrong with
I was
coaches
actually
these
upset.
days?
I only watched that game to see Kuzma.
I'm so disappointed in coaches these days that, you know, somebody's having a career night and they just say, you're not going to play in the fourth quarter. I understand it's a blowout. I understand you could get hurt, but just let the kids play. Like, come on. It doesn't make any sense. If I was Kuzma, I'd be upset.
If I was Kuzma, I'd be completely comfortable in LA because he's the only person that's untradeable.
I think LeBron's untradeable.
Except for LeBron.
Can't forget the GM.
But they barely look like a team without LeBron right now. They just lost to the Cavs. And
yeah, you lose. They beat. That shows you the state of the Pistons. They beat up on the Pistons, who had everybody, essentially every key player, and then they just get routed by the Cavs.
And it was really disappointing because that was the Pistons on ESPN that night.
Yeah, I know. I was bummed.
Whenever the Pistons are on ESPN, I
Made it
don't
rough.
watch because I expect something like that to happen.
Moving on though, there is some news as we inch towards the NBA trade deadline, which is February 7th, Thursday of February 7th. The Dallas Mavericks, as reported by Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, the Dallas Mavericks are escalating discussions to find a trade for point guard Dennis Smith Jr. He set out the last 3 games due to back soreness.
He's also sitting out tonight.
He's also sitting out tonight and did not practice today because he called in sick.
He called in sick.
He called in sick.
He has an illness.
That's one step away from D-Rose. Just don't show up. Don't say anything.
That's it. And then in the story, Woj also goes on to say Phoenix and Orlando are in pursuit of Dennis Smith. And then Mitch Lawrence, who does Sirius XM NBA radio, reported the Pistons have contacted and have discussions with the Mavericks when it comes to Dennis Smith Jr. I want to put the question out there. As we inch towards the deadline, the Pistons are struggling. Do you make the move for Dennis Smith Jr.?
You have to. I think he'd be great.
Do you give up a first-round pick?
No.
No,
Do you
Not-
give up?
you- I don't think
What do
you
you
can.
give up if you go after?
This draft isn't that deep,
But with where the Pistons are
but
picking,
the lottery in this draft is really good. So I don't think you can give up that for Dennis Smith. I think he's a really good player, but he's not that good of a player. It's hard to say what to give up because the problem is I feel like the Magic, because they're right there in the playoff race, that they have more that they're willing to give up and that maybe could give up than the Pistons do at least. But you never know. The Pistons have a couple young guys that people like, Kennard and Stanley Johnson.
I don't think people care that much for Stanley anymore. I think his trade value has dipped ever since last year.
Yeah, but I think like if you can attach him to another piece, that I think there's some value there.
I think the value would be in a Luke Kennard, Reggie Bullock package.
Yeah.
Just because Reggie's shooting 40% from deep, helps space the floor for Luka, who would be the point guard and who is really the point guard now. Maybe even a Ish Smith send that way because there's no way they would want Reggie Jackson's contract.
And JJ Barea just tore his Achilles.
Tore his Achilles. Hopefully he doesn't retire, but he might.
But that only makes the Pistons' wing depth even worse than it is. But at the same
I want
time,
them to lose.
You do get some of your younger guys in there that you can see what they got.
And Dennis Smith's under team control for 3 years on his rookie scale contract, including this year. So you have time to just kind of let Dennis find his way into his role. Yes, you deplete your wing depth, but you know what? You're not trying to win games.
Exactly.
I think it's a win-win. But the only thing
he's
is
exciting in warm-ups.
Lob City East, Dennis.
Fans will come to games to see him get some nice dunks.
A couple fans.
Dunk on some people every now and then.
Couple 10, 20. But
a couple 10, 20.
I want the Pistons to go after a draft pick. I don't know how they get it done.
If they could somehow trade Henry Ellenson or Stanley Johnson for a second-round pick or cash or something, that would be.
I keep thinking that if they could, they're definitely not going to do it. But if they could throw throw in the towel and trade Andre for another, they could probably.
I'm completely on board.
They could trade Andre and a couple other pieces to get another lottery pick. I feel like.
Now let's talk about that for a second because I feel like as we inch towards the deadline, it's getting louder and louder that the Andre Drummond, Blake Griffin dynamic doesn't work. And Blake's going to be the guy here for the long haul. Andre might be the odd man out.
He has the most value.
What teams would look at him and maybe take a waiver on him? Because he's still a 2-time All-Star, might be a 3-time All-Star, best rebounder in the NBA. A really solid center when he's engaged in the right situation. He could be way better than what he is now. A couple teams that I could see. What if Houston panics with Clint Capella out 4 to 6 weeks? He's just another big name to pair next to James Harden.
I think there are several playoff teams.
The hardest part is what we get.
Want him.
The hardest part with the Rockets, though, is what we can get in return because the Rockets.
You'd have to get Capella back because there's no way you have Drummond and Capella.
Are pretty low on assets as well.
I'd take Capella back. I think he's a way better fit next to Blake, a dude that just rim runs.
Yeah, rebounds extremely well, defends extremely well.
You don't have to worry about his intensity, but he doesn't have as high of a ceiling that Drummond has. I think Boston's another team. Al Horford hasn't looked at himself this year. You take back Al Horford's contract. Andre's still young. Danny Ainge likes some young centers. I think that could be had. It's a move. Boston could be panicking a little bit with that whole situation right now. What do you guys think about a Boston Drummond pairing? I feel like we've heard that in the past too, that Boston has been interested in Andre Drummond.
I don't know. I think they like. I don't know though, because like their team. I know Al Horford is not playing as well as he has, but he works so well in their offense and their schemes, and he can stretch the floor so they can give room for Tatum and Kyrie and Jaylen Brown and these guys to get into the paint, whereas Drummond just sits in the paint.
But here's the thing,
and clogs it up a little bit more.
They have 4 guys that can spread the floor that you can put in the starting lineup, and you put Dre at the 5. A 1-5 pick and roll with Kyrie and Dre is very enticing.
Right.
And that's better than Kyrie's ever had. I mean, Al Horford's good, but he's not near the athletic freak that Dre is. I think Boston's a team you could watch and maybe might pull the trigger on, but I'd like to see a draft pick.
My dream scenario, and I still don't even know how to work it out. I haven't figured it out. But my dream scenario, me and Chris were talking about Marc Gasol has been in talks.
Mark Mark Stein reported for the New York Times that there's whispers going on that Marc Gasol could be had at the deadline.
If the Pistons could somehow get involved, it'd have to be a 3-team trade because I don't know if I really want Marc Gasol. But if we could get the Grizzlies' first-round pick and maybe send Drummond to the Grizzlies and then add a third team in there and just get a couple little assets or something, I think that would be the best deal that we could do. I still don't know how it's going to work. I don't know who that third team would be, and I don't know all the little pieces that would be involved because all that money stuff is hard to match up, but
Joey will keep looking
I really
into it.
like that the Grizzlies look like they're trying to rebuild, so that pick just could be very valuable.
Well, I don't think they're trying to rebuild, but they might by default.
Right.
You
That's
know?
what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I would be fine with taking back Marc Gasol too. It's a year or less of a contract. Mark and Andre, I believe, make very close to the same amount. A year less though. He's a former defensive player of the year. Helps spread the floor. I think it would be a better fit. So I would be fine either way. But yeah, it'd be cool to get another pick. I'm all about rebuilding and getting more assets for the future. I don't think that's what the front office
No,
is
I
thinking.
agree
but,
completely. I don't think they're going to.
Some other trade rumors going on. Jeremy Lin, or the Hawks have put Jeremy Lin, Dwayne Dedmon, and Kent Bazemore on the block ahead of the trade deadline. They're looking for draft assets
I think that's a great move.
for the Hawks.
Yeah,
I agree.
Especially
with you.
Kent Bazemore. He's a guy that doesn't have that high of a ceiling.
And he's
shown what he
he's
has
gonna have
already.
value right now at the deadline
Exactly.
as an athletic shooting wing. Jeremy Lin's gonna have value too. Sacramento has been calling and they've talked about a deal. Enes Kanter could be had from the Knicks. He's not getting playing time right now. There were talks between the Kings and the Knicks. Those haven't come to fruition as of yet. So a lot of little things building up. I think it's gonna be a really active trade deadline.
What do you guys think? I was thinking that was another one of the teams. Is that what if the Pistons were able to do a trade with the Hawks
for Jeremy Lin?
and send Drummond to the Hawks?
I don't think the Hawks would want Drummond.
You don't think so?
They have John Collins.
I know, but he's not that.
Yeah, John
He's not like a
Collins
full.
isn't-
He's more like a forward.
Yeah.
He's that athletic big, and
I know, but I'm
I
not
feel
sure
like
if they'd
he's
want
just got so much skill.
That'd be awesome. Whoever wants to take Dre, please take. I'm done with him.
Because
I'm done with him.
I don't know. The Hawks just have so many interesting pieces.
You know what's crazy to me too? This is totally sidetracked from what we're talking about right now. But as being a Pistons fan for this will be my 12th season or something like that. Drummond has been the Piston that I've watched the most. He's been on the team the longest. It's just crazy to me. No Chauncey, no Rip, nobody that brings wins. Drummond. I'm done with him though. I hit my breaking point this year.
Where's Rodney Stuckey when you need him?
I miss Ron. Rodney could have been good if we
Where's
kept
Rodney
Chauncey.
Stuckey
Do you think
when
the
need him?
Pistons go for a small move? Like, I'm not saying they would go for this particular, but like a Jeremy Lin or Kent Bazemore. I'm scared that
They're
that's.
so done with Reggie Jackson.
I'm scared that they're
I'd
going
see
to
it.
default to something like that again. I would love Jeremy Lin though on the Pistons. I'm not going to deny that, but
First game,
the Pistons always seem to miss the mark and then end up doing a small deal that is insignificant.
to be fair, those small deals that were insignificant all came from a different front office. So this is a whole new front office. So we really don't know until they make a move. They haven't
Right.
They haven't made a trade yet, I believe. I don't think they have,
No, they haven't made any moves.
other than free agency. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I really hope they don't. I could see them plugging the hole because Ish Smith came back for the first time last game. He played almost 30 minutes in his first game back, finished off the game already. Reggie didn't even close the game out. You can tell Dwayne Casey just doesn't like Reggie Jackson
Well,
as a fit.
we've seen a lot of Jose Calderon.
God, I can't stand him.
Nobody should ever see that much playing time.
He's worse than Steve Blake. Do
But-
you remember the Steve Blake era?
Yeah.
And he's
I know
worse than
so
that.
many people that love Steve Blake when he was here.
Oh, and I'm sure there's a cult following
'cause-
for Jose
yeah.
Calderon, but
I don't know about
it's,
maybe in Cleveland.
it doesn't make any sense.
He played okay for Cleveland. I mean, anybody looks okay next to LeBron. But yeah,
That's why the Pistons need to go get Carmelo. It's perfect for Gores.
I'm fine.
Think
with
about
that.
it.
This team.
No,
It fills the stands. That's
No.
what Tom Gores wants.
it does.
And
it
it
does
also
fill the
it
stands,
also fulfills
but-
our need
of a small forward.
of a small forward and a tank.
And he doesn't play defense, so he fits right in.
Look, everybody wins.
And here's the thing.
You know
like,
what? I'll take it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Here's the
yeah,
thing.
I'll
It
take
gives you
Carmelo.
some sort of interest in this season we already want them to lose. Melo's probably not going to result in wins. And at the slim chance he actually does and creates a buzz about the team, that's another win.
Yeah. I don't think he could really fail in this program
I don't know
because
why they don't
there's
bring him in.
nothing. I mean, the Pistons are a sad wing at
I
the
will
wing
take Carmelo.
position.
They're sad at point guard.
If
and
they could
wing.
figure out, because then they get Dennis Smith Jr., Carmelo, Blake.
That would be exciting to watch. I would watch.
Maybe without getting rid of Drummond.
No, please get rid of Drummond either way. I'm done with them.
Well, I'm just
Start
saying,
Zaza.
maybe to finish this season, but I think everybody
I
would
think
win
that
in
would be very
scenario.
entertaining. I'm full
I
on
can't
board.
believe that Carmelo is not on a team.
He should be on the Pistons with how bad their small forward situation is.
He could be on so many teams.
He could. But
But-
I think his best role would be with the Pistons because he could start from
Yeah.
day one.
He could shoot as
Him
much
and
as
Blake chucking up.
Yeah. Why not?
Oh
I'm
my
down with
God,
it.
that would be so horrible to
We
watch,
don't-
but it would be so
No,
fun
it
to
would be
watch.
fun.
We
Yes.
don't have a secondary option anyway.
Malik just
That would be
described
the-
it. Malik just
Yeah.
described it so perfectly.
That is a circus act.
Nail on the head.
Oh
my
my God.
gosh.
Yes,
that
That'd be
we're doing it.
Just
Yeah.
let him go.
that'd be amazing.
Trade for J.R. Smith. We're ready to go.
Okay, that's too much. Now you're just turning it into
I would be the quickest person to buy a J.R. Smith jersey.
He's so great.
Piston. Last little bit before we sign off for the day. James Harden, most 30-point games in a row, past Kobe Bryant, 17 straight.
In the modern era,
In the modern era, Wilt Chamberlain did it for like what, Joey? 40
I think
or
it's
something
like
like
40
that?
games or something.
But we don't count that.
Yeah, there's not.
He dropped it was 36 in the first half last night, finished with 57.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna drop like 66. I wanted him to go for almost 70.
I want him to go for at least 60.
I have a big question for you guys.
What?
Is he a top 5 shooting guard of all time?
Not yet.
Yes.
If he's in the top 5, he's 5.
Yes, shooting guard is the most, I'm not going to say depleted, but that's the term that comes to mind. Depleted position in NBA history.
I think small forward. Kind
There's
of
been
is.
great small forwards. Shooting guards, a little
Yeah,
bit.
true.
Shooting
I mean,
guards is
Michael,
like Michael,
Kobe,
and then it's a
Michael
it's a
Kobe,
fall
Eddie
off.
Wade. That's
Michael
the top
Kobe,
3.
Wade,
Yeah.
James Harden.
And a lot of people, there's certain people that argue Wade over Kobe
I
in certain
disagree with that.
scenarios. I
with
disagree
that.
too, but I'm just saying.
If there was prime Wade for a longer period of time, that's
Right.
different.
Yeah.
Prime Wade for those 2 years, that was phenomenal, but he couldn't sustain
Yeah,
it.
and after those guys, there's a big drop off. My biggest problem is obviously the accomplishments so far. I'm kind of with Malik. I think he's already closing in, but he doesn't have that many accomplishments overall, and the lack of defense is terrible. And I also hate how much he gets to the free throw line.
James Harden is unguardable, and I can't watch him.
He
play.
shot more free throws.
That's the crazy. I don't like watching James Harden play.
He shot more free throws last night than his opposing team.
Wow.
He went 1 of 17
He was-
from the 3 a few nights ago.
he
And
was
still had
7
36.
He was 17 of 18 from the free throw line last night.
It's
and
insane.
He also had another bad 3-point shooting night last night. But
57.
he gets so many points off the free throw line. But yeah,
It's crazy.
he's still good though.
That's going to do it for the show this week, though. Pistons still abysmal. Michigan, our only hope for hoops. Michigan State, only hope for any positive sports here in Michigan. We'll see you guys next week. I'm Chris Pappas, Joey Tyson, Malik Hill.
Hi.
Don't ever disrespect Kobe. People need to stop. MJ is the GOAT. Kobe is second.
Donovan Mitchell third.
James Harden isn't there yet.
Whoa.
It's not even close.
Larry Bird?
It's a small.